Do you want to find everlasting peace in your life? Well, check this out. A man settles where he finds peace. Not beauty, not money, not status, but peace. People have been continually searching for peace. Maybe you feel internally that there are days or maybe long stretches of period where you do not have internal peace. There's stress, there's anxiety, there's turmoil, there's maybe depression, just a lot of internal struggles. At the macro level, you can look at countries, you look at the globe, and we have yet to figure out as humanity how to live at peace. In this video, I want to give you a historical viewpoint. I want to start with a historical event and use that as a springboard for discussion of how this historical event, how this historical figure could potentially be the answer for true, lasting peace. Many people around the world celebrate Palm Sunday. And if you are unfamiliar with Palm Sunday, this is a historical event where a rabbi, a very poor rabbi named Jesus, entered the city of Jerusalem, and he caused quite a bit of turmoil. So I'm going to give you an abbreviated version of the historical context of that time and how that relates to this whole idea of peace. This is a new section in the Gospel of Mark. The rest of Jesus' ministry takes place within Jerusalem. It was the beginning week of Passover, the most sacred week of the Jewish year. For Christians, it's become known as Palm Sunday, the first day of the Holy Week, culminating with Good Friday and Easter. On that particular day, though, there was two processions entering Jerusalem. On one side, you had this rabbi, a poor peasant rabbi from a village called Nazareth. His name was Jesus, and his message was this kingdom of God. His followers were primarily the peasant class. He had traveled for about 100 miles from Galilee. The other procession that took place that day was from the Roman governor Pontius Pilate. He would come on a magnificent horse. There would be a column of imperial cavalry and soldiers. It's a stunning visual of marching soldiers and horses, a display of power. And their message was, of course, the power of the Roman Empire. So here you have it. You have two kingdoms coming into Jerusalem. On one hand, you have Jesus and his message. On the other hand, you have the Roman governor representing the Roman Empire with their message. And Jesus had a message of peace. He talked about a kingdom of justice. He talked about a kingdom of righteousness. On the other end, you had another kingdom, and that kingdom was a kingdom of power. And to the Jews who lived under the Roman Empire at this time in the first century, they had always known this idea of kingdom. And to understand these two colliding kingdoms and what role it plays in our lives, it's understand the historical and the geopolitical context it played in their lives back then. History shows that the social, economical, political system was a system of domination. In Jerusalem in the first century, there was political oppression. You had upper and lower classes, economic exploitation. There was also religious legitimation, referring to the divine right of kings. So people that had power got the power not because necessarily they were elected by the people, or of course they were men of integrity and servitude and goodness, but because there was a system established that people believed, and they used that to their advantage, that we have been given the divine right to rule. And rule they would, often with an iron fist, to keep the system that was currently in place in continual order and structure, like the way they wanted it. The text in the Gospel of Mark, as Jesus comes in on this donkey, this is the Jerusalem that Jesus comes into. A Jerusalem that was meant to be a sacred place where the temple was, and there was peace, there was justice, there was righteousness. But instead it's become a place of power domination, economics exploitation, and even religious exploitation. and there's no peace. A scholar mentioned that when Jesus comes in, it is being planned, is a pre-arranged, quote-unquote, counter-possession. One Oxford scholar said it looked like a planned political demonstration. About 19 times Jesus talks about this kingdom. People expected that when the kingdom came, it would be a restoration of a kingdom like King David, this physical kingdom, a geopolitical kingdom. But Jesus didn't come to bring that type of kingdom. The Jews are waiting for freedom, for being set free from oppression, exploitation, and to have their independence once again. Jesus comes to bring peace. How does this apply to us today? We live in a post-modern time, and this idea of truth is hotly debated, and some people think that it can be subjective rather than objective. But there's two important things with this little passage. One is, what is truth? And what are you going to be set free from? What Jesus is arguing in this passage is that you will be set free from sin. It is doing things that are wrong. Assuming there's a moral code, assuming there's a moral standard. So for Christians, they believe that they're now set free. They actually are in this kingdom of peace. So think about this. If Jesus was who he claimed to be, but assuming he was, he's coming to proclaim a kingdom of peace, and now Christians are in this kingdom of peace, and in this kingdom of peace, where is the peace? Where is your peace? Why are there still struggles? And the Bible always refers to that it's not going to be an automaticity. Like there's going to be, we're living in a world and there's going to be challenges and struggles. But in Jesus' day, the main thing opposing his kingdom was the kingdom of Rome. In a sense of Jesus being proclaimed as a king, and he was a threat. He was perceived as a threat to the kingdom of Rome. So today, what is it that is trying to take away this peace from the kingdom of Jesus? Take away this peace from this kingdom of peace. And here comes the thing that is not politically correct to speak about, I think, and that is, according to the Bible, it is the devil, Satan, evil. He is the main opponent of this kingdom of peace. Once upon a time in the 4th century, there was a monk by the name of Ponticus. He decided that he's going to do what Jesus did, and that was going to the desert to fight the devil. And in the desert, when he came out victorious, he wrote a book. And the name of this book is Talking Back, a monistic handbook for combating demons. He explained that fighting his demonic force was what he called logismo, which is a Greek word meaning thoughts or thought patterns or internal narratives, belief structures. They are mental maps. They are paradigm, our thought patterns, our belief system. So his point is that the accuser, Satan, is actually trying to attack your mental maps. He's trying to accuse your thoughts, your paradigm, your worldview, and get that twisted. And in our common language today, the topic of the devil is not a hot topic. There was a scholar who wrote a book. His name is Del Banco, and the book is How Americans Lost Their Sense of Evil. In that book, he talks about history behind how the sense of evil and that things actually are evil and that evil exists and that people do evil actions have changed and been labeled with other things. It is either true or not true, and that is that Satan does exist. And according to Jesus, his main strategy is to, number one, tell lies, and number two is to kill and destroy, particularly uproot and cause havoc within this kingdom of peace that Jesus proclaimed. Neuroscience have shown that when you believe a lie, it actually alters your brain chemistry. Fear releases stress hormones, it hijacks the amygdala, and it reduces the ability of the prefrontal cortex to think with reason and efficiently. And the God-shaped brain, the author says, when our consciousness is clear, we can reason and think more efficiently. So I want you to just think for a second. If Satan is the father of lies, What type of lies do you think he wants you to believe, me to believe, mankind to believe, to destroy this kingdom of peace? One might be, is God really good? God has all these rules and regulations and things you should follow and do and don't do. Is it worth it? Does God exist? If he does exist, is it worth it? I'm gonna let you think about what you think could be some lies that he wants you to believe. But also you think about what Jesus said, that the truth will set you free. Usually when a person is free, like say if you're 100% free, like that brings a sense of peace, joy, and gratitude. And truth must exist in some shape, form, or fashion. So I'm asking you to consider, not saying that you should agree or disagree, but just consider, is to open your mind to the possibility of what Jesus said might be true. And if you have a skepticism, I think that is healthy. But I do encourage you to do a little bit of research into historical figures around Jesus, into historical evidence, historical facts around Jesus' crucifixion, since it was an historical event. If Jesus did rise from the dead, it changes everything. Absolutely everything. And that change can be a little scary because a lot hangs on that statement or that preposition or that truth. Jesus came to bring a kingdom of peace. If you wonder if that is true, if you wonder if that is worth it, I encourage you to take a little bit of time and read Jesus' word, recorded by eyewitnesses, and see if you think this is a worthy blueprint to maybe delve into deeper and see if this peace that he talked about is worth it, if it actually has the power to transform lives.